Morning, everyone. Mike Rasmussen here, bringing you an update from the Smyrna Town Council meeting last night on February 7th. Usually try and get to these at night, but I had some stuff to do right afterwards, and so I'm finally getting to it this morning. We had a pretty long meeting yesterday because we actually had a hearing before the meeting at 5:30, a public hearing to consider the alterations to the election districts. So I'll start off with that, and then I'll jump into the some of the highlights from the agenda last night. So the public hearing, and a lot of folks may know this, every 10 years a census is conducted, and based on that census, town charter says that we need to take a look at our zoning or our voting, our council districts, and make sure that they're aligned with the population of our town. So it's actually been since 2006. It looks like any changes have been done to this. The 2020 census, we got those results back at the late last year, has a town population just under 13,000. I think it's 12,800 and change. And we currently have at least one district that is dramatically larger than the other. So for folks, there are three council districts, and there's an elected representative from each one of those council districts, and then there are three at-large members. So I have one of the at-large member seats. One of our district level seats is much larger than the others, and so this is a chance to reapportion the population of the town and make it a little bit more even. Town staff put together a couple of different options for us to consider to look at the populations and how they were laid out in those districts, and we had a conversation about those at a council workshop a couple of weeks ago, and last night was a public hearing to get any sort of input or anything, thoughts or feelings from the public on what those would look like. Overall, there's a couple of options that it seems like the council has asked our attorney to draft a resolution, and that way we have a chance to vote on these. There's a couple of ways to reconfigure some of the voting districts to broaden them a little bit, and to adjust and better represent the current population, and stick with having three council districts and three at-large members. That seemed to be the opinion of the council, was to move in that direction, and so we will see two formal drafted resolutions that we will have a chance to vote on at our next council meeting. But these new council districts will impact us in that they may change what council district you vote for. So that will then go out with all of the voting information, and we will be seeing, this all has to be done before our districts, or before the council member, the registration for running for any of the voting districts expire or ends in March, and then we'll be having our election again in April. So you'll see and hear more about this, because by the end of this month, these new districts will be set, and that gives people a chance to understand a little bit of what's going on with those districts. So not a lot of changes. I mean, we have to move a few things. So some people will be in new districts that they weren't in the past. But overall, we're not looking at dramatic changes to better reapportion the population in the town into those three different districts. So more to come on that. We'll talk more about that when we approve it and share the information after we actually see the final drafts and have a chance to vote on it at the next council meeting. So that was the public hearing at 5:30. The regular council meeting, there's a couple of updates that I think are really important for folks to know about, and a couple of resources to point people to. We got an update on the parks master planning process that's going on. So the town has contracted with a landscape design firm that has started a parks master planning process. Really what this is updating an old plan to take a very deep look at the amenities that we offer in our parks, to talk to the public and community about what we already have and what they would like to see, so that we can better utilize those parks. And then ultimately, this guides a plan that we use to make investments. This isn't saying that we're going to come up with a plan and next year we're going to build out all these parks, but what it does is says over the next 10 years or so, these are the specific things that we're going to invest in, and make sure that we use our funds as responsibly as possible and that we're heading in the right direction. It also gives us an opportunity to go after grants and funding from state, federal government to help build out our parks. So this process has gotten started. There's been a bit of a walk around and assessment done of the existing parks. There's a site on the town, so if you go to smyrna.delaware.gov/masterparksplan, that's where all of the information for this process is going to begin. So that's smyrna.delaware.gov/masterparksplan. Right now, you'll see a sort of a summary about what the process looks like, but this is also where they're going to start posting up proposed maps, meeting information, things like that. The big thing to note is that the first public planning meeting associated with this is going to be scheduled for Saturday, March 12th. This is going to be over at Citizens Hose Company, and this is going to be a chance. It's from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and it's a chance for members of the community to come in and play around a little bit with the amenities that they would like to see. You know, some of this is kind of that like jigsaw puzzle approach where you might take, oh, here's a little, a little pool, or here's a skate park, or here's a basketball court, and and we sort of fit those into the parks that we've got to help create a layout and then collect data about what it is that people would really like to see. So it's a cool process. We want to get as many people involved in as possible. So there's going to be a lot of outreach to different communities, the different community associations, HOAs, the school district, to try and gather as much feedback. There'll also be surveys that go out around this, stuff that you'll be able to complete online and send back. And then that meeting, and then this is going to be an iterative process. It's going to take a while. Data will come back, we'll talk about it, then we'll reach back out to people, and ultimately try and get as much feedback from everybody to develop a plan that the entire community can stand behind. And really what we're talking about is the investments may be over 10 years to build these out, but these are parks that are going to serve our community for 30, 40, 50 years at least, and we want to make sure that they are as representative of our community as possible. So check out that site, smyrna.delaware.gov/masterparksplan. That's a place where you'll see more information, and you'll be able to participate in this. There's another update that we got from the utility committee around the North Main Street utility and streetscape upgrade. So this is the next big infrastructure project downtown. They've already started some of the planning work. Our consulting firm that we're working with that has already gone out, they've been doing a lot of the seismic testing for underground to find out and try and identify exactly what utilities and things are underground. One of the great stories a lot of us have heard is that there's tunnels possibly under North Main Street. None of the seismic testing found any tunnels, unfortunately or fortunately. Probably fortunately from a cost perspective from the town, probably unfortunately for a cool story perspective from the town. But so they had their first public meeting back in September to talk about what the process would look like for this big project, trying to get as many people, especially those that are going to be most intimately impacted by this. So the folks that live and work on North Main Street, the people who travel on North Main Street. My street is a one-way street that turns off of North Main Street. It's going to have an impact on my family, though certainly minimal compared to the folks who truly live on that area. So the first meeting was to go over all of the process. And tonight, so February 8th at 6 p.m., at the Opera House is going to be the second meeting, which is actually to present some of the information, some of the preliminary design stuff, and some of the basic information about where they've, what the existing work looks like. So they've conducted an existing conditions survey, so looking at what everything looks like up on the ground level, the subsurface radar. There's a draft electrical and communications sort of design for what things look like underground. That information is going to be shared. It's also the opportunity for people to share any concerns, any thoughts about what the process is going to look like and what they might like to see. So if you can and you feel like you're going to be part of this, get out there tonight, 6 p.m. at the Smyrna Opera House for the second one of these meetings. There will be more meetings. There will be more outreach, but it's going to be another big project that's going to impact downtown. The idea is that we want to make this a lot smoother and a dramatic improvement over the unfortunate delays and process we saw in the South Main Street project. So trying to do a lot more outreach up front, a lot more planning and investment in some of the planning pieces to hopefully stave off some of the delays that we've seen on the South Main Street project. So you can find information about this also at smyrna.delaware.gov/North Main Street. So again, smyrna.delaware.gov/North Main Street. Those are the two new sort of pages, but for the Main Street project and the Parks Master Plan that you can keep an eye on. Actually, I should probably just let folks, if you haven't done so already, so the town sends out a Thursday email called the Town Tidbits. You can actually sign up for that on the website as well. It's down at the bottom of the main page where it says sign up for updates. And then you'll be able to get this. And all of this stuff, all the information about these meetings is going to come out through those Town Tidbits. Great place to just see what's going on real quick, real easy. And then you'll also see a lot of this pop up on social media and areas like that as well. So those are the big things that we talked about from the committee and operation pieces for the meeting last night. We did do a couple of actions. The town awarded an electric line trimming bid to Delmarva Tree. This is every year we have electric lines throughout the town. Trees grow on, near, or close to those lines, and so in order to maintain our electric supply, we need to make sure that trees are trimmed, limbs are removed that could fall in storms, things like that. So this is a process that we go through. This is a 3-year contract that we've got. It's based on town budget, so we can only spend as much money as we have in any given year. But the vendor for the tree trimming bid was awarded to Delmarva Tree. So we formally did that last night. We also adopted a resolution making a few changes to the process for electric disconnections for some of our delinquent accounts. So there is an exemption in the town code we cannot disconnect electric at homes where there is a medical electrical need, meaning that there might be a piece of equipment or something that somebody relies on for a medical purpose. We are not allowed to turn off their electric, even if they are in arrears to the town for their bill. There are a very small number of accounts in the town where this is taken advantage of. We're talking 6 to 10 accounts where people do not even try to make payments on their electric. In one case, one of these is over $16,000 in arrears to the town. But because the medical necessity is highly dubious. Basically, there are a number of these that have medical necessity waivers on town, but they pay their bills. We just know that we can't shut off their power should they happen to be a little bit late. There are some who've taken advantage of this. And so the town has struggled for a very long time, years, to come up with a better way to address this. And in the last year or so, we've made some changes that allow us to tie back payments for people who are not making efforts to pay them to their tax bill, which gives the town more opportunity to place a lien on those properties. And there's some actions that can give us a little bit more ability to recoup those funds. In some cases, it wouldn't happen until the property ever gets sold. But at least it gives us a way to go to recoup some of those funds eventually. So we made a few small changes or recommended changes to that process to give the town a little bit more ability. And ideally, we all pay for electric. People who take advantage of our electric system, that costs us all money. It's an unfortunate thing. There are some folks who absolutely need it. There are some folks who take advantage of it. We need all of the tools possible to address those needs. So we did a few of those little things last night, the kind of housekeeping pieces. uh, an interesting one that we'll see how it comes is the town has an exemption or has a prohibition on any type of firearm use in town, which is probably a good thing. Uh, it includes, even like air guns and things like that. Um, but that prohibition also, we realized, excluded the law enforcement from any training activities in town that require discharging any sort of firearm or like a flashbang grenade or something like that. And so we actually began the process of changing the code to make sure that law enforcement training activities are not actually against code. So that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start hearing gunshots and flashbangs and stuff like that going off, but it gives the chief the opportunity to make sure that those are included in training activities that we associate with our law enforcement. Little thing, small change, but could make a difference. Um, and then the last thing that we did is we had our final reading for changing the impact fee schedule for the town. There is a bit of a change to this. So we've talked about this the last couple of meetings. One of the things that I think it makes a difference for if you're building a property or making a development or something here in this community, impact fees are the way that the town helps bring in funds to supply services. So sometimes that's water and sewer, but it also is other things like fire service, ambulance service, school construction. These impact fees help pay for the capital costs of increasing service. So what that means is, if we have a big new development, and that means, well, we need to be able to, the fire department is going to need a new fire truck. An example like that. That type of thing, those impact fees help pay for those additional capital costs. So we actually have increased some of the capital, those impact fees a little bit for the fire and ambulance service, because those are places where we see, as the town continues to grow, we will need additional resources, and trying to put a little bit more of that towards the town. And we've basically, what we've done is we've adjusted our fee schedule to be much more in line with those other communities that are around us, and better representative of the true cost of the capital improvements that are needed because of those developments. Really, it's bringing us up to speed on where we should have been, because it probably changes that should have been done a number of years ago. But we're getting to a spot where we need to make sure that the funds coming in associated with these things represent the true cost to the town, and not just the town, obviously, right? Fire service, ambulance service, those are provided by awesome volunteer organizations that serve our community. We want to make sure that they get a fair share of that impact fee in that development. So the final reading of that and those final changes have been implemented to bring that up to speed. So those are the big items from last night. It was actually a pretty nice little meeting. Something that was very nice is one of the gentlemen, one of the veterans in our community, who's a wood carver, presented all of us with these awesome fisherman sculptures from Lake Como, and I brought it home, and my daughter immediately co-opted it and took it up to. She demanded that it was hers, and so now it's in her room. But she was absolutely in love with it, so we certainly appreciated that. It's always nice to have somebody come in and say thank you for the little bits of work that we do. So those are the big items. Just to, if you haven't gotten a chance to sign up for the town tidbits, that's on the town website. You can do that at the bottom of the main page, and then check out those other two websites. So that's the /North Main Street page and the Master Parks Plan page. Those are going to be great ways for you to see what's going on in the community over the course of these two big pieces of infrastructure work that are going to be going on in the next, for the Master Parks Plan, it's going to be probably 10 years. But North Main Street, that's going to be a more impact. That should start, next year, hopefully, or maybe the end of this year. I forget exactly what the date is. So as always, reach out if you got any questions directly or through Facebook here, and I'll try and get you whatever information I can. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful day. So take care.